I wanted to just speak about some of the photos and stories that you shared to me. So we're talking about photos of you on the AO Walk of Champions, you at Lord's, Yankee Stadium, watching Messi in Barcelona, Cricket World Cups.
We need more women on sport boards. We need more younger people.
How has the recovery been since the AO finished? I imagine it was a big month for you through January.
And I did have an experience that I had, someone sort of almost heckle a little bit about can't hear you, can't see you. So I stood up on the chair at the board meeting to present the work. I know it's something that's massive in SportsGrad. It is who you know.
Wanted to speak about some other challenges you faced breaking into the industry. I know we spoke about New Zealand, but what makes it difficult for your experience to get a role in sport and some advice people can use coming through?
You don't realise how much of a network you have until those sort of situations happen.
Last on Lemon Tart, can I just ask, where does the name come from? Hello and welcome to the SportsGrad podcast, the ultimate guide to make it in the sports industry. My name is Nathan Peroni. I am now the new host of the SportsGrad podcast, and here at SportsGrad, we've helped people land 817 roles in sport. A huge shout out goes to one of our members, Rory Lamb, who recently landed a role in the membership team at Richmond Footy Club. So congrats, Rory, and enjoy the upcoming AFL season at the Tigers. On this podcast, I chat with people in the industry and find out how they got hired into dream jobs in sport. If you want to know what people are doing to break in and grow their career, make sure to follow the pod and subscribe to our newsletter for even more advice. Or if you want to give yourself a competitive advantage in the job market and put your career on a rapid new trajectory, go to our website and apply for the next cohort of the SportsGrad Method program. Now, coming up on the show today is Caitlin Hildyard, lead experience designer at Tennis Australia. Caitlin has just completed work on her second Australian Open, where she plays a key role leading the end-to-end experience and delivery of the Elite Player app across digital and on-site services, amongst other things. Prior to her time at Tennis Australia, Caitlin made the jump from New Zealand to Melbourne, and her journey showcases how you can hit the ground running when moving internationally for work. Caitlin is much more than a full-time designer at Tennis Australia, and on the show you'll find out how she started her own independent agency during COVID, which continues to operate today. She dominated the golf scene in Wellington, where she was a representative player, manager of the women's representative team who had national success, joined the board of Golf Wellington and designed products, and then continues to today. Caitlin's journey is an inspiring one that showcases how you can maximise your time and achieve sustained personal development. So grab a pen and enjoy this chat with Caitlin.
Hey guys, Ruben Williams here, founder of SportsGrad. We'll be back to the episode in just a second, but I just wanted to take a moment to tell you about the SportsGrad Method program, which has been helping people land jobs and major sporting bodies in as little as 14 days and doesn't require you to take out a massive debt to get started. If you are looking to make a jump into the sports industry, but nothing seems to be working for you right now, then why not apply for the SportsGrad Method program? Inside, you'll get given a proven playbook and a one-on-one industry mentor, as well as access to the SportsGrad network, plus much, much more, all of which have helped people land over 800 roles in sport. If you're ready to back yourself and fully go after your career and not let life get away from you and wonder, what if I'd only given that a shot? Then you're the kind of person who we'd love to work with. So head to sportsgrad.com.au/program and you can apply to join us.
Caitlin Hildyard, welcome to the SportsGrad podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, you're my first ever guest on the podcast, so it's a pleasure to have you. You're actually the first person I reached out to as well that got back to me straight away. So
You flying solo, well done. Yeah.
Thank you. Really looking forward to today's conversation. How has the recovery been since the AO finished? I imagine it was a big month for you through January.
It was a big month, different this year since I switched teams. My bigger months were pre-Christmas, but everyone's now back post-AO. Rest and recovery is all over. I had an enforced rest and recovery, took my own leave and went to Queenstown. But yeah, we're all sort of back onto it, planning for 2027 and just a lot of retrospectives, what we can do better, and yeah, planning for the next one, which is great.
Amazing. We'll look forward to diving into it shortly. As you may know, we do an accreditation swap of the sorts when we have the new guest on, and Ruben's been building a wall of accreditations in that SportsGrad house. So what have you brought with us today to add to the wall?
Well, I only have two options, and it's either the first AO or the second AO. And Ruben wasn't having my first one. So this is the Shares accreditation. So it's only just switched off. it did buy him a peach Melbourne, so it has got
Incredible.
enough memories on it.
There you go for the camera as well. Amazing. Thank you, Caitlin. That'll hang nicely. Now, as you may be aware, we do the first thing on the show is our quickfire questions to get to understand you a little bit better. And trust me, some of these quickfires can be a little bit more than a quickfire because sometimes there's just great answers to talk about. So don't feel like you have to shorten the answers. Firstly, what inspired you to work in sport?
I do find this a really hard question because it's an accumulation of so many events, so many experiences. And I don't really think I had an aha moment. I wanted to work in sport. I honestly didn't think I would be here working in it. It's not what I set out to do. I basically instead, I always chased my passions. I chased what I loved to do, and sport just intertwined with that. And at the end of the day, I was always a fan first. It was becoming part of a fandom when I was 11 years old and the 2003 Rugby World Cup. At school was doing the newspaper or filling in all the scores when, you had newspaper clouts and you got to fill in all the different games. That was the year that I knew rugby. I grew up in a family that loved it, but that was the year I knew players, coaches, and it just grew exponentially from there. I was then a pretty belligerent fan, had arguments with teachers, would debate who the best players in the teams were, and that just grew over time. And for me, 2011 World Cup at home, the Rugby World Cup, that was my first ever international experience, seeing that on such global scale, seeing those activations, being part of a crowd like home crowd at the Cape Town and Wellington and watching the All Blacks game. You can't kind of, beat that you want to bottle that feeling up. And that year of 2011 was really what kick-started everything of chasing my passions. It's the year I switched degrees. It's the year I went after and doing design. And everything just kind of, stemmed from there, really. All my job experiences started to slowly involve sport. My rugby, I intertwined it with photography, and that was the first time that I actually knew that I could combine my creative side and my sort of love of hobbies. And really it is just that joy of being a fan. That's what I want to work in sport in. It's basically knowing that in a stadium of 80,000 people, everyone's from different backgrounds, different socioeconomic, genders, race, and we all are there for the same reason. And that's sort of why I want to work in sport, is so that there is another 18-year-old kid, 11-year-old kid who's in that crowd with experiencing that same thing, and maybe they will then go pick up that game or want to get in sport and become part of a fandom. That's sort of what I want to create.
I think it's a lovely reason to want to work in sport. And I think you mentioned there wasn't an aha moment per se, but I think that 2003 and 2011 World Cup sounds like to me they were the aha.
Rugby union is probably the aha moment.
That's okay. I think that was clear as well. You said the All Blacks. So.
Yeah.
Now, the second one was, what was your first ever job, and what was your first ever sport-related job as well?
My first ever job, does car washing count for your dad?
Yeah.
I was paid.
The start?
No, he'd probably say I didn't do a good enough job. So my first ever sort of job would have really been, I was a personal assistant, technically probably a Nepo baby because it was my sister's job prior, and then I just got it by default. So
networks count.
Yeah, that's what benefits of being a little sister. And then my first ever sporting job was photography for a golf tournament, a junior golf tournament. Came through my university portal. They were looking for this, a photographer, and it was at my home club, which is brilliant. So I knew the course, and then I was able to, sort of go along and do that. It was also the moment that really got me back into golf at the same time, and I decided to pick up the clubs again. I did get paid in golf balls, which is a good thing when you're starting to come back to golf.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need dozens.
So many golf balls go missing. Yeah.
And then, from there, my actual paid gig would have been, again, sort of photography. And graphic design for a events agency doing Toyota like racing and V8. So that was when if you want to go, actually received monetary value. That was the first one.
Amazing.
Yeah.
With the photography side of things, did you enjoy picking up a camera when you were young? Like, how did that allow you to then step into that role at the start?
I think I always loved technology, but also I had this sort of, I don't want to say chip on my shoulder, but I couldn't draw. So I was very self-conscious about the fact that I did design and art and couldn't draw, and how do you get your creativity across? And the way I could do that was through a camera, and it wasn't something I was able to do at school, which I was really gutted about. So when I went to design school and it was an option, I did it alongside my other sort of design work. I never saw it as like a job aspect. It was just pure fun, and honestly that was what I thought was how I was only going to get into sport if I wanted to, was going to be through sports photography, because I didn't really know about any other jobs at that point. It was mainly, unless you're an athlete or a coach, what else can you do? But I did understand that you could do photography. So
fantastic. You mentioned a little bit before, but after high school, what extra study did you do?
I've done everything. When I left high school, I didn't really know what to do. Like any sort of 18-year-old, I think there's so much pressure put on you to have your life sorted and you know exactly what path you're going to go down. And like every other, probably 10,000 of us entered Vic Uni in Wellington to do law. And I did that, nearly failed, did fail a couple of papers, managed to scrape through the pass, but I dropped out after my first semester. I then went and tried to do commerce and did marketing and accounting. I've done classics and basically was just trying to figure out what I liked. And marketing I did enjoy, but I wanted to be on the other side. I wanted to create those campaigns. I wanted to do the creative side. So on the sneaky side, I actually applied to design school and went and had the meetings before I told anyone. I sort of worked out how I could do it. And then while studying, while working, had to put a portfolio together and submit it. So then, went to design school for 4 years, had an honours degree out of Massey University, and then we've just slowly.
Sounds like a great decision to step away from it.
It was. I think it was hard to explain to parents and people what you were going to do, because I didn't come from a creative, design family, so it was always hard to go, well, what job are we going to have at the end of it? And especially, I think everyone back then, it's better now, there's more options, you've got content creators, but back then it was like, well, you did accounting, you're going to be an accountant, so what are you going to do with a design degree? And at that point I just sort of said advertising, because it was the only tangible thing someone could wrap their head around, but it's not the direction I ended up in.
What's one question you like to ask of people that you hire?
I haven't had to hire people yet, but
in theory,
if I did, I think it's important about team fit, character fit. I think you have to get on with the people you work with. So, I think skill set and everything comes through in a CV. You can sort of see that. So I want to know what that person does outside of their job. What are they passionate about? What do they do? Maybe it is their job, but I sort of would like to uncover, who they are as a person. So what are their passions basically? Yeah.
I noticed you do that on your LinkedIn profile as well, in your bio. You mentioned a little bit more about what life is outside of work.
Yeah, and because I think it's honestly in some ways helped me get jobs, because you are more relatable to people. Someone can actually find a connection with you outside of a work industry. Everything can feel quite flat on paper, but if you have a common interest, and golf's been that in a lot of my jobs, and so it's the travel aspect as well. So if I put that in, it's a conversation starter, it's an icebreaker, it can show through actually who you are as a person.
I think it's a great idea. Book or podcast recommendation that's helped your career so far?
I do have a couple. I read out of pure enjoyment these days, because I honestly believe that in your career, you can upskill as much as possible, but sometimes you need to switch off. So I do use books to switch off, or I use them for inspiration. But one of the key ones in my life, actually was gifted to me by my mum. I think it was at Easter when we for some reason we're not gifting chocolate. So we gave books, and this is when I first started uni, and it's called The Vogue Factor, I think. And that's a book about Kirsty Clements, which she's actually an Australian. She rose from like front desk all the way to like editor-in-chief of Vogue Australia. And that's when I first started design school, and I honestly, that's why I went to design school. I thought I was going to work in magazines and be Anna Wintour. That's what I wanted to be. So hearing that journey is really what sort of inspired me. And another one I would recommend from especially a creative background is, Steal Like an Artist. So it's real short, it's really snappy. It's got some great tidbits in there around, nothing's ever original, and that, you can steal from everything. It's a great, idea. And it's also got some great sort of things around, like, nurturing the different parts of you, which I really sort of always latched onto, that if you're following your career, if you're just diving right into that one thing the whole entire time, you're sometimes missing out on the hobbies, and it's important to have that balance that sort of makes you a better person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. If you could try another job in sport for a day, what would it be?
I've got a couple, again, multiple answers. I think either a sports psychologist would really fascinate me, really interested in that mental wellbeing space, and be interested in how, looking after players, managing different personalities and teams, and, the different sort of, problems that come up with that. Or otherwise I would definitely, want to shadow a team principal of an F1 team. I'm fascinated by, love F1, so McLaren or Ferrari, and sort of understand the decisions they make and all the different people you have to deal with on a daily basis.
Are you going to the Grand Prix coming up?
I am. It's going to be my first time to the Grand Prix, yeah.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
What are you getting up to, just general admission? Any certain access?
Yeah, just because of the price, I love Drive to Survive, but it has absolutely hiked the prices of everything. And I've got my friends coming down from Brisbane, so we're all going along, so that'll be great.
Now, before we jump into more questions around your career and everything you've done so far, I wanted to just speak about some of the photos and stories that you shared to me before the episode.
Yeah.
I think this just highlights, again, how much of a sport fan you are, and just so relatable to everyone else that is listening. So we're talking about photos of you on the AO Walk of Champions, you at Lords, Yankee Stadium, watching Messi in Barcelona, Cricket World Cups, winning the Wellington Golf Championships. Mm-hmm. Tell us about, I know you said before how those moments of the 2003 and 2011 Rugby World Cup really shaped your career. But how important is it for you to, I suppose, branch out, see other parts of the world, and how does that impact your career, but also just your ongoing passion for sport?
Well, I love travel, but in every trip, for some reason, has seemed to have centred around sport or has involved sport in some way, sometimes deliberately, sometimes not. So when I went to New York and visited my sister, we've been Yankees fans since we were kids, so I wanted to go to the Yankee Stadium and saw New York play Boston. I think it's just important to see how different countries, different fans operate, what activations are on, and especially coming from New Zealand and then going to those massive stadiums, going to Barcelona FC and seeing that. I was 21 and I have to put my hand up and say I didn't really understand or know football or who Messi was at the time. I do now. And to see him score 5 goals in a row, and that was a warm-up game, but it was packed. Yeah. It's the same as going to, I had it here, going to the MCG and watching AFL. I just can't comprehend how, you fill a 90,000 stadium for a round one match. It's pretty incredible. I think it's just, that joy and feeling of seeing how, again, all these people come together. And it's always been with people close to me as well, which is why I'm able to experience it with others. So going to Lords, my friend worked with the Black Caps, and so he got me tickets, which was front row at Lords. And I was sitting with people's parents who are the players, and so you're going, which one's yours? And you're going, basically. That's pretty epic. These are people that I wouldn't usually be able to rub shoulders with. And Cricket World Cups, again, travelling with my sister, those are memories that I can't replace. So it's just amazing.
Yeah,
really.
love it. Special memories with your family
Yeah.
and friends for sure. So like I mentioned at the start of the show, you're the lead experience designer at Tennis Australia. What does a week in your role at TA look like, and how does that change from in season versus out of season as well?
I think there is a misconception that, the changing in season and off season, I think to anyone working at TA, it's just constant. It's just suddenly, you're going up the hill and suddenly about 3-4 months prior to the AO just gets really steep and really hard, but it's constant. I've had 2 different roles now as a lead experience designer in 2 very different teams. So the first one was commercial, was in the customer experience team. So that was purely revolving around the AO. You did have quite an intense lead up from September when I started through till about January, the end of the AO. So when you come off it, you are doing retros, you are basically reviewing what's happening, you're catching up on sleep, versus now in a tech team role, it is sort of a 12-month roadmap. Some of those projects do involve lead up to the AO, some of them don't. My day-to-day changes on the day. I'm still very much on the tools, so I am still designing. I'm still, creating those strategic sort of roadmaps along with my team. I'm doing a lot of stakeholder management. You are presenting to people all the time, going, these are our ideas and why we're doing it. We're very data-driven as well. At TA, you need data behind you to justify why we're making changes and who this is going to be for. We're very audience-centric too. Everything is about our users, whether that is on patron side for the people coming through the gates to the AO, or it's on the app side. So I worked on the Elite Player app this year. So that's our player group. So you're a completely different audience again. And then you're always thinking about your workforce who come on to the site. So we did a lot of digital products this year for the people who are actually working during the AO, who are providing those services. So there are so many facets to the job. But yeah, it's always changing. I'm always learning. But it is constant, yeah.
Talk to us about the Elite Player app. I think a lot of people listening would love to know what is that and how does that play out with the players as well?
Yeah.
And what was your involvement in building it?
So it's technically, I guess, the AO Player app. So basically, when players come on site to the AO or the Summer of Tennis events, they are entitled to certain services. And prior to this year, we did have an app. I say an app in inverted commas. It was just sort of data, or sorry, I should say like text on a page that people could open on their mobile phone.
Yeah.
It was very, very basic, and it was also quite a fragmented experience. So that meant they were getting emails with certain information from somewhere. They were getting PDF documentation. A lot of the time it was just numbers they knew to call and people they knew to contact to get into these services. We were trying to create a more like streamlined, system, a one sort of source of truth place, and make it as simple as possible. We're also trying to actually uplift and become like a more digital first, without losing the personal touch though. That was always such an important thing. We wanted everything to be easier, so that meant digital. We needed to catch up to the other tournaments. But on the other hand, we didn't want to lose our like happy slam personal touch, which makes the Australian Open so special. So my role, being the experience designer, was I did a full UI uplift, so full interface design, what it looks like. I completely worked with my design team on how that would look and feel. So yeah, completely new design. Completely new content. Created the templates to then send off to all the stakeholder teams that they could then fill out. I drove that design, design decisions, the design look and feel. That was very much my role. And then once we'd sort of handed it over to developers, I had to do all that handover, make decisions if things didn't work based on if we couldn't do certain things with the tech stack. So we then went, okay, we have to make adjustments. And then I was also involved in, presentations, but also testing at the end of the day. So once we had gotten all the design being built, the whole team was on testing, seeing if it would work, making tickets. So yeah, it was a full team job, but my role was definitely the UI sort of side.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't even know that this exists.
No, because it's not for most people.
No, I know.
It isn't, but it is.
Was the feedback strong and very positive from players, from what you understand?
Yes, I think from what I know, I would say it did come back positive that I think that everything was there. We've still got a lot, like all the information was in one place. I think we've still got so much to do and such a long way to go. So we wanted players to be able to book into these services, and they could in a way, but we want that all to be done through a phone versus just providing numbers and someone still having to book on the other end. So we've got, we've made huge leaps and bounds in 1 year. We've got a long way to go. And at the end of the day, it's actually not the players. This is what I learnt, was that it wasn't the players using it all the time. It's not Novak is not logging on to the AO player app to book his haircut. It is usually his team, and there's so many other people we're using, like actually targeting who we wouldn't think about, who are managing the comms and managing these players day to day lives, basically, yeah.
One thing I want to ask is a key soft skill nowadays is the stakeholder management space and in relationships. I know your expertise is obviously the hard skills of creativity and design, but how impactful is that on the job you do today?
You have to be able to back yourself, so you need to be able to defend your decisions. And I think that I've always had, in some ways, no issue with presenting or public speaking. So that is really important, to be able to walk into a meeting with people who are 3 up from you or heads of or executive teams, and that you can justify the work you do matters. So very much is very important. But I think what else is important is that at the end of the day, people just want to be included. So you don't have to use every feedback that comes in or every suggestion, but people just want to be listened to and basically go, okay, we took that on board and this is what we've done. It might not be exactly what they wanted, but it addresses the problems. So I think that's really throughout anyone's career is really important to be able to, listen basically,
Now, I want you to talk about your business that you've created during COVID, Lemon Tart, independent design agency. What made you create this, and how do you manage to continue working on that alongside TA at the moment?
Yeah, so that's I fell into it. I always wanted to run my own agency. And by agency, I am a team of one at the moment, me, myself and I just sort of do have contractors if I need extra help. So in COVID, I was working at a design agency in Wellington, and then like a lot of businesses, there were layoffs, and I was made redundant. And when my boss at the time made me redundant, we were on a walk and I knew it was kind of coming. He also then said that he thought that I should go out on my own. I had kind of 2 options, which was basically we can do what we can and find someone to hire, but at that stage, this was sort of middle of 2020, no one was hiring. There were hardly any jobs. Everyone had kind of shut down and gone, we don't know what this is going to look like. So, but they still needed the design work. This was sort of the thing, but no one wanted to take the risk of hiring anyone. So going out on my own was actually kind of the smartest decision. So I did that from August 2020 solidly for 6 months, just 7 days a week, trying to find, work. You're wearing a million different hats. I was really lucky though. You don't realise how much of a network you have until those sort of situations happen. I didn't believe I had a network until, I got phone call, I think, on the last day I was working at the agency from General Manager of Wellington Golf, knowing that I did design work and would I be interested in doing this Golf Wellington website. He had no idea that I'd just been made redundant, and I was like, you have the best timing ever. So that was one of my biggest client work, and then I got work through family, I got work through members of my golf club because, and old colleagues as well reached out to me. I did partnerships with other agencies during that time. So I didn't actually have to do a heck of a lot of marketing, which was great. But my accountant even got me a job. So like everyone sort of was, doing the hard work for me. But when you're running a business, you are on the tools. You're doing the project management, you're doing the accounting, you're doing everything, and it's a lot. And I learnt so much in that time. And then when one of my clients actually offered me full-time work, so I negotiated to do 4 days with them and kept doing lemon tart on the side. And that's what I've done for the last sort of 5-6 years, is still done it on the side. It's very different now that I moved to Melbourne, because I don't have that. I'm working a full-time job 5 days a week at TA, and that is the priority. But I'm able to do a little bit on the side. I'm not very good at the whole balance, if I'm being honest. I'm doing my best now. This time last year, I was saying yes to everything, things I shouldn't be doing. Working 7 days a week. Basically, all my evenings or mornings were spent doing freelance work before TA. So now I'm actually learning the power of no.
Did that mentally exhaust you a little bit?
It did, and I did burn out very in that, because I knew I wasn't doing the quality that I wanted to be doing, probably also the type of work as well. But when you move, you're also trying to build a network, but you're also, like, I had wanted some extra money. Like, I was finishing apartments, I had trips planned, I needed some, extra pocket money goes a long way. So I wanted to do those projects, whereas now I've sort of almost revamped my offering. So basically protecting that time, knowing like that I will probably only have one client at a time. It's more retainer work, X amount of hours a week, and then a project work comes along, it has to get scheduled sort of later. And I'm just, way more, protective of that time, a lot more structure now. But I think at the moment I'm sort of just in a rebuild mode of what lemon tart looks like and what I want it to do. And if I at any point want to leave TA, I think I will pick up lemon tart. But I want those processes and sort of plans in place to do that.
Last on lemon tart, can I just ask, where does the name come from?
Oh, you can thank my dad for that, because I was not calling it Caitlin Hildyard Design. It really, I was adamant I was not using my name. I wanted something a bit cool, a bit different.
Yeah.
And so we were coming up with names, and he just said lemon tart one evening when we were having...
Were you having lemon tart?
No, we were having fish and chips. It was like Fish and Chip Friday, so... We did that, and the whole idea is that, a bit sweet, bit savoury, pieces of a pie almost, you do all these sort of various different skill sets and designs. So that's why we came up with lemon tart. And look, the yellow's also representative of Wellington colours as well. So, yeah.
Amazing. Love the backstory. Now, talk to us about your love and success in golf. I know you just mentioned Golf Wellington. You said it at the start of the show, first ever sports-related role, photographing and design at the Junior Eagles tournament in New Zealand. And you mentioned to me that obviously you played as a kid, then became a representative player, manager of the team who then won a national championship, and then became a board member. Mm-hmm. How does that journey all start, and what are you still doing today in the golf space as well?
Well, it's a long journey of many ups and downs. It's probably 8 years of golf in a way. So my whole family plays. It's not really like the average sport you find a 5-year-old kid playing, but I just grew up in a family whose parents played golf, whose grandparents also played golf. So it was part of my life. It was my summer holidays. That was something we did as a family together. And then I played golf till I was about maybe 13, 14, and then through a variety of circumstances through high school, I sort of didn't play, and I just sort of played a little bit over summer and that. And then really that golf tournament, that Eagles golf tournament that I photographed, was kind of the catalyst to actually start playing again. There is nothing like meeting 9-year-old children who are smaller than you, which is hard because I am only 5'3", but that are smaller than you and are on way lower handicaps than you. to go, oh, this is not okay. I need
deflating.
to. It's deflating, but it's also going, no, this is not right. This is not how it's supposed to be. So I just went home and I was like, no, I'm going to pick up golf again. And I did. So that was 2013. So just before I turned 21, I decided to pick up golf. I really credit my club that I was at, started to put on like junior tournaments for, I guess, kids like myself who were older, not like teenagers, but sort of in their 20s coming back to the game. And then, I worked really hard for the next few years. I'm way better when I'm busy. So I was doing my honours degree. My final year of uni was probably the busiest I've ever been in my life. I was studying, doing our core project. I was playing golf probably twice a week, if not more. I was doing it when in between study. I was going out and playing midweek golf with probably 20 odd of my grandmothers, but it was fantastic because they looked after me and all they wanted to do was like watch me, get better and see that potential. And basically, the drive was if I got my handicap down low enough, I was going to be able to play in our top inter-club teams. And then from there would have been, starting to get to be able to play for Wellington. I finished uni and unfortunately took a job in Brisbane. So just as I sort of got offered that I could play for Wellington, I left the country for a couple of years. And then when I came back, I sort of picked golf back up again. And that's when I represented Wellington for my first year. That's sort of mixed feelings, I should say. I have so much pride pulling on that, jersey. I'd never been at an elite level, sort of sport level before. So it was fantastic, but I probably, I also, after doing that, nearly gave up golf. Just so much almost pressure. I absolutely lost my game in that time. I think I needed to work out how to deal with that pressure and also the expectations I had on myself. And I had a great group of people around me, including my parents. And also, some different mentors who helped me kind of find my love of golf again, because sometimes in that competitive aspect you sort of lose it. You get focused on the numbers, you get focused on the performance versus actually why are we all out here in the first place. And then that just sort of, so I wasn't part of the team for a year, and then I got asked to be manager, which was 2021. So I managed team of, there was about 6 of us that went away to the final team at the end of the year, but for the end of the 6 months, you were playing various tournaments around New Zealand, playing the top teams of Auckland, Canterbury, Waikato, and you were travelling with the team. So a lot of my time when I wasn't working, my weekends were spent with the team. I was, managing, being a mum, making sure they had all their, before I was 30, at 28 years old, was, managing 6 teenage girls, which does a lot for your character, I can
helps
assure
your leadership
you.
skills, I'm sure.
Yeah, it does, but it's also, it's a lot. Teenagers are scary even when you were a teenager, let alone when you're older. It was a great experience, and we went down to Timaru, and a lot of these girls I had known since they were quite young. I knew them when they were 12, 13, and then watched them become these top level golfers, and then going down to the South Island and watching them win was pretty, it was impressive, especially for some of them who are about to go to college in the US. We had a great team that came together and, performed amazingly. And that's when I sort of then stepped into a board role. So golf's been a massive, intertwined throughout my life. Even without, I wasn't chasing these sort of roles or anything. It was just sort of who you knew and, wanting to make a difference. Like in the board role, I was sort of in charge of the portfolio for women and girls, and also trying to get more people into golf, which is what I'm very much passionate about. More people to, especially women, to pick it up. I think it's a great skill set, and especially for kids as well. It's not even just the skill of playing golf; it's what golf gives you, which is huge amounts of patience and resilience. And it's a solo sport, but a lot of the time you are playing in teams on your way to sort of turning pro. So that comes massive amount of skills in itself.
What was the biggest takeaway from being on the board? I know we speak a lot about it on SportsGrad with how important it is to volunteer at your local clubs, committees, to get that experience, especially when you're young. What was the biggest takeaway for you those 2 years?
I think that we need more women on sport boards. We need more younger people on sports boards, because I was the youngest by, goodness, maybe 10 years. Maybe not quite, but I was the youngest by quite a bit. And I think it's just really interesting to see the governance aspect of a sport, what goes on behind the scenes. I think what people need to remember with generally a lot of boards is that it's volunteers. It is people giving up their times from their day-to-day jobs. These people work really hard and then come in and do this. And when you're on the outside, you hear so many comments, they need to do this, they need to do that, they need to make these improvements. So I think it gives you a lot of respect for what goes on to managing 27 clubs in Wellington, managing all these competitions and players and trying to do the best for everyone. I think the experience is invaluable. Like, you can't teach some of those skills. Being able to get up an AGM and explain your portfolio and what you are doing in front of people who are over twice your age. And I did have an experience that I had, someone sort of almost heckle a little bit about, like, can't hear you, can't see you. So I stood up on the chair at the board meeting to present the work. And I think it gives you a lot of confidence and that you need to just articulate your ideas really clearly. Yeah,
fantastic. You mentioned too that you've obviously moved across from New Zealand to Australia. We have a lot of
people. Can you tell my accent? Yeah.
We have so many people that come through as members that do want to or already have moved internationally. I know a lot of friends as well in the industry that have actually come across from New Zealand. What was some of the biggest challenges you had when moving from New Zealand to Australia, and why did you want to do that?
So I'm sort of a unique case a little bit because coming to Melbourne was my second time moving to Australia. So I've done it before. I sort of knew already how things operated over here, how to deal with Australians. So I knew sort of the systems. Why I wanted to come across, again, I had the job at TA when I moved. So I was already in a unique position, which I know a lot of people don't kind of have that same luxury. If I was moving to London, I know that I wouldn't have that same luxury of usually going for a job. The reason I wanted to come to Melbourne is that it is almost like a second Wellington. So where I'm from, they do call, Wellington's like a mini Melbourne. So it is very similar. And to be honest, you can thank Taylor Swift for why I chose Melbourne, because I was here in the February prior to moving and fell in love with the city, had pizza on the side of the Yarra, looking at the MCG and going, yep, this is where I want to be. And for someone who loves sport, there is sport all the time in the city. I don't think you can be anywhere else that there is something on all the time. You have no shortage of it. You do have to get into AFL, but there is no shortage of it.
Have you found an AFL team?
Well, yes, I spent last year kind of perusing my options, but I had friends who were Carlton supporters, and I went to one Carlton match and went, I don't know why you've done this to me. I've grown up with heartbreaking teams. I don't need another one. But to be honest, when I lived in Brisbane, I went to my first AFL game up there. So no, I am not jumping on the bandwagon of twice in a row championship team, but I am a Brisbane Lions supporter now. My friend sent me a scarf for Christmas saying don't forget your roots. So I think that's kind of sealed.
That's fair enough to say.
It is, yeah, and I do live in like Fitzroy, Collingwood area anyway, and they used to be the Fitzroy Lions. So I think I've got enough justification.
Yeah, we'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Wanted to speak about some other challenges you faced breaking into the industry. I know we spoke about New Zealand, but what makes it difficult for your experience to get a role in sport, and some advice people can use coming through?
I think that the hardest thing that people have to wrap their heads around is that there are only so many jobs at those top level organisations, and the people I meet really want to work for either a Tennis Australia, a Cricket Australia, the Olympic Committee, the All Blacks, their top level AFL teams, they want to go straight to those sort of big organisations that everyone knows, and there is only so many roles available at them. So when they don't get those roles, they sort of get very disheartened and go, not for me. And I think it's important for people to remember to like not give up, that they need to find, there is so many alternative routes. Like I didn't go straight to Tennis Australia. I didn't think I would end up at, somewhere like Tennis Australia. I've worked at those lower level clubs, those sort of entry level pick, those obscure sports. They all need so much help. I think that there are so many other opportunities that is the way you're going to get to those top level organisations. I also think it's really important for people to remember to not actually try and start where someone else's is almost finishing. So it's really easy to look at someone's career and go, oh, I want to be right up there as like a head of partnerships at Cricket Australia or something. But that person has had 10 other roles prior to that, and maybe not even in sport. I think never actually underestimate getting experience outside of the sport industry. I think we need more people who are not in the sports industry working in sport. I've worked in startups, and that was like the biggest learning environment for me, and where I would credit majority of my skills have come from. Where I've learnt the most is in startups. So yeah, I think never underestimate the experience of really anywhere. I think any job experience is good as long as you're actually doing a good job and it's what you are passionate about. And also it always, I know it's something that's massive in SportsGrad, it is who you know. It's networking. It's networking the hell out of it. It's going to every event. It's messaging so many people. You never know who's going to be a connection. Like my journey with Lemon Tart absolutely proved that. I've had connections, from accountants who are friends, but also like my old osteos and physios were my biggest mentors as a teenager, who probably don't even know it, but made huge amounts of impact on me as a person. I've got amazing friends as well who would advocate like for my work. It's not always, mentorships don't always have to be someone directly in the industry either. Sometimes it's just someone who's going to advocate for you, help you on the right path, and give you advice when you need it. You don't always just need someone who's going to be directly where you want to be. I'd always say expand your network as much as possible.
Very sound advice. Now, you just spoke about a mentor being some of those old physios and osteos, but do you have some that have probably been the biggest influence on your career today? I know you mentioned in your notes to me that your boss that made you redundant still has had a massive impact on your career. Like, what was that relationship like in that moment too? But some of those other mentors that have played a part today. Yeah,
shout out to Tom, because he was my he was my creative director when I worked at this agency in Wellington, and I think that it must have been an awful job. We went for a walk and he had to tell me that I was made redundant, but also credit to him, he's always been there for a phone call, for a LinkedIn message. I've had calls with him while I've been in Melbourne around what should I do, where should I go, because when I first got this role at TA, it was a 6-month contract, so I was basically going into everything trying to go like, how do I secure a longer term contract or stay here? And I talked to him for advice, but that he has probably had the biggest impact, because he is the one who encouraged me to go out on my own. He had that belief in myself when I didn't. I do remember him saying to me, he's like, I wouldn't tell it to everyone to go out their own and go freelancing or build their own business, but he's like, I think you have it in you can do it. So I have to always sort of come back to that. And like my physios and osteos were still my friends to these days. They were like, older brothers and sisters back then. But when you're 17 and 18 looking for, you need a ear to like chew off about what do you do with your life. It's always sometimes the least people that you least expect that are actually going to, help you out. And I also had, I was lucky enough to work with Grant Elliott at Crick HQ, and he was a mentor actually in the end for my golf game, and was one of the people that actually got me back playing when I really wanted to give up after my playing rep golf. So, he really helped me mentally. I've had so many different people who have made a huge impact of not just like my work life, but probably who I am as a person. Yeah.
I think the story about Tom is very admirable. I don't think there'd be many people out there that could say they got made redundant by their boss and that there's still such a strong relationship.
Definitely. I still, go, can I send you this? He'll still review my CV, review my portfolio. If I want to work out how I want to structure Lemon Tart, he'll be the person that I call. Still catch up with him. When I go home, I just have to take a Toblerone along with me. It's generally the deal.
You mentioned the 6 month contract at Tennis Australia. Word on the street is that you were a SportsGrad member in cohort 1 as well during that time. So you're actually already working in sport. A lot of times people are looking to get into sport. Why did you sign up at that time, and what did you find the value of being a SportsGrad member?
So I think I was already following SportsGrad and Ruben on Instagram before I even moved to Melbourne. I was aware of, what SportsGrad was doing, and I was really, interested in it because I sort of knew that I was working in the startup space, and then I knew I wanted a new challenge and was like, I'd like to probably go back into more sporting roles. But when I got to Melbourne and I was in this 6 month contract, I knew I had to meet as many people as possible. It was very much not guaranteed that I would have a job at the end of it, and I didn't have a job at the end of it. I moved teams. And I knew about 3 months into that role that I was not going to get extended. I had to find something else, or luckily at tennis, I had made such good connections that they advocated for me in a role in a different team. But going to SportsGrad was purely to try and meet other people in the industry. I went outside my comfort zone like massively. I'm, generally introverted, extroverted with people I know, but going to an event with people you have zero clue who are going to be there, I went along by myself, but the pure intention was literally to meet people, and I was really interested in the speakers that were there, which I think was a December one in 2024 that I went to, and then hearing about, I think it was Hayley who works along the F1 and she'd worked overseas. That was very much like inspiring for what I wanted to do. And I, after that meet-up, thought, I'll join the membership program. But it was also when the SportsGrad method, Ruben launched it. So I was like, that would probably be a good time to get my A into G, so to speak, and to try and, basically see what I can do, that I could prepare myself if I didn't have a job at the end of it. I really was using it to build a network and use that probably to build Lemon Tart. I was lucky enough that I did end up with a job at TA, and I will say that joining the SportsGrad method was great. I probably should have waited till cohort 3 because I was also trying to do it in the middle of an AO, which was 3 weeks solid of working straight, which was not my best decision.
Great work-life balance.
Wasn't my best decision, but luckily enough, being in the program is that you are able to turn back up to cohort 2, cohort 3, and so I sort of did it for probably actually 6 months, just like picking it up bit by bit.
And now you're a guest on the podcast.
I know, yeah, exactly. Now I just need to be a host, and then I'll be full circle.
Maybe you'll be the next one. Speaking of SportsGrad, you're now giving back to the community. So you're a mentor of the program. So part of the membership is people sign up, they become a member, and they get allocated a mentor in the industry who Ruben sees as a great fit. I want you to tell us more. You're currently mentoring Emerson and Jing. I also saw Emerson has her own business as well. Yep. How has that been, and what's the value you're seeing from supporting both of these people?
I think I've probably got the 2 easiest people to mentor, to be honest. Emerson, when I first met her, she came up from Adelaide to Melbourne, and we went for coffee, and we probably talked about a lot of things other than our careers, but we had a lot in common. We talked about both the fact that we've both been freelancing and that our love for travel and where we've been. So I think, the great thing is to just also meet like-minded people who, they're all a bit younger than me, but it's great to sort of help just be an ear if they, need someone to talk to or ask questions. And at the end of the day, I very much leave it to both of them to get what they want out of it. And sometimes I just send them jobs that have come up and gone, you've got to, you should apply to this. It's really just been a sort of a cheerleader in their corner for the work that they do. Both Emerson and I have done work for SportsGrad as, designers. So we both can talk about Ruben, of course, as well as a client. But it's just finding that common ground with people. And like Jing and over in Perth has is going to go fast. She just needs, someone sometimes to go through certain parts of the program. But at the end of the day, these girls, they ask me the questions. They come to me fully organised, and for me, it's just nice to be able to give back. I do it because it's something that I wish maybe I had back in the day. I've had a lot of male mentors who have been absolutely fantastic and can't fault them, but I didn't have as many female ones. So I think that's also great to have someone who's probably in a similar position to them.
Love that you're supporting the community and keep up the great work. So thank you. I wanted to talk about a sliding door moment. I know you spoke about probably a couple that I might be able to pinpoint, but is there one that really has transformed your career, if you can think about it?
There's probably two. One is definitely Tom and being made redundant and then setting up Lemon Tart, and that opened many doors. It also opened really doing a lot of client work in sport as well, which has really gave me the portfolio that has led to my job at TA. But the other one is, I think this job is probably, my moment that I didn't think I would be here, and I honestly think it's going to hopefully, touch wood, change the course of my career. I think, I'm 18 months now into my role at TA, and I don't think that's, having that on the CV, the skills that I've learned, the people that I've worked with, the connections that I've made, I truly believe that's going to make a huge impact on my career moving forward here.
Amazing. Now, if you had to go back in time and someone said, I'll give you $1 million if you can land a job in sport in the next 30 days, how would you approach the next 30 days?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the power of social media content, being online, has definitely, shows that is how you got to show up. So if I had to get a job in sport these days, I would be online. I'd be showcasing my work. I would be documenting that journey to get a job, probably on TikTok. I'm going that if I'm 10 years younger, I would be fully into the social media. I think aspect for me, it would be very much showcasing my skills, which would be design. So there'd be a website, and there would be Instagram and TikToks, and I'd probably be on LinkedIn and pitching work to people, going, these are brands I want to work with, so this is what I would do in this situation. If it was like we'd just had the Winter Olympics, I would be showcasing this, how I'd do a campaign or do their website or a digital product, and documenting that and presenting it, basically not having any fear and just getting as much work out there as possible. And we come back to networking again. I would be messaging as many people as possible. I'd be contacting old workmates, old people I played golf with. I'd be hitting up as many people as possible. I think that's what I've learnt in the last year, is that, so many people are willing to have time. I still have video chats with people that I've met on, through a message on LinkedIn, and everyone is willing to give up their time just for to help you out. So that's what I would do. I would be, scoping through LinkedIn of all the different people. And it might not be a job. Majority of the time, probably won't be a job, but it's someone that is going to, might remember my name if something does pop up. And I think that's what I would, be definitely capitalising on.
Those power relationships can't be topped.
And you never know. This is the thing. You never know. And it might not be an immediate effect, but in 5 years' time, that could be,
Yeah, love it. What's your biggest pinch me moment working in sport?
It would have to be the AO. I'd never been to the Australian Open before, so the 2025 Australian Open was my, first one. But then this year, pinch me moment would be, going to see in the opening ceremony we had Roger Federer appear, and I never thought I would probably see him ever play. or hit a tennis ball. So seeing that live was pretty, amazing. And then, experiencing the AO is, next level. It's something I watched on TV growing up, and suddenly being able to not only attend but work in it is, next level.
What do you think your life would look like if you didn't pursue a career in sport? Elite golf player, maybe? I know it's still in sport.
It's still in sport.
In sport.
I think it's quite funny. I think at the end of the day, I probably, no matter what, would end up in some level of an active or well-being sport role. So I sort of see sport and design intertwined a little bit. So if I hadn't even done design, we took that away. I did actually apply to be an osteo, but when I applied to design school, it was my backup, and did get in. So I think that's where I would have ended up. But again, I think I would have gone down the player-athlete route, because that's what, the people that influenced me were working on as well. It would have been in women's health. It would have been helping young athletes. So I think no matter what, I probably would have ended up in this position. And, design-wise, if I had done design, no sport, well, the dream's still out there to be Anna Wintour, so I guess I'd be working at Vogue or something, I think,
Amazing. Now, this is a new feature I'm bringing to the pod. I've sort of taken it from Diary CEO, but I think it's a great little tool at the end of a podcast. So I want to leave a question for the next guest from yourself, but I'm going to ask you a question which I didn't really leave in my episode, but I'm going to ask it now. What do you do away from work that keeps your health and well-being performing at a high level?
I have way too many hobbies. So my time is usually spent either running, gym, Pilates, golf. And then I love to read, go to wine bars in Melbourne, go down to the park with a bottle of wine and a book is pretty good. But I would probably definitely say for me, my mental health has always been something that's connected to sport. So it's been, being active, it's going for a run around the tan, that sort of thing,
And the question for the next guest from your end?
I wrote down a couple, so I got kind of like a serious one and then a fun one. So I guess the more like serious one is I'd like to know what would be the change that the person would make that would create the biggest impact in their sporting area. Does it have to be in their direct job? But, what do they think is going to move the needle the most in their sort of sport that they're working in? But the fun one would be, who would they want to have dinner with in the sports industry, dead or alive, can be athlete, player, and why, and what would they make them? More interested in what dish they would serve.
Well, I look forward to hearing the answer and make sure to stay tuned. But that's all from me today, Caitlin. Just want to say thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing your story, and I think there's a lot of valuable advice for our listeners, for those that are in the industry or wanting to break in. So, thank you again.
No, thank you so much.